Oh, this one's going to be a struggle. Hello, my friends. Today I am back to recap the latest episode of All Stars 10, the Tournament of All Stars Snatch game. We have officially made it to the semi-finals. And I have to admit, having all these superstars together in one room was awesome to see. They gagged me a bit for sure. But this episode was a dumpster fire. I have a lot of things to say and they are not positive, so let's get into it. So we get to see another set of entrance looks from our semi-finalists. All of them ate, but I gave my top two to Bosco. Did you clock her wig? She looked absolutely stunning. In fact, all of them did. There have definitely been some glow-ups. So Rue goes on to discuss the semi-final rules. All of the points earned in the Queen's respective brackets have been wiped clean. This can ensure that every contestant is now on an even playing field. Moving forward, Rue will name one top All-Star of the week, who will receive a cash tip of $10,000. And the bottom two queens will lip sync for their lives with one sashaying away and one shantaing. So to kick off the semi-finals, the queens will be playing the Snatch game. Make Rue laugh and you're golden. The semi-finalists walk back into the workroom and there's a new set of bodysuits on display. Mistress wastes no time being messy. She knows that the truth of how she made the merge may come out to the other queens. And she continues to stir the pot by twisting Aja's words that were directed at Georges. Oh, but we aren't done with Mistress, because she also tells the queens that she once toured with Ginger and never saw her shower once. Damn, Mistress just went straight in, and that's why I love her. So something I want to bring up briefly about Lydia is that what I really liked about the pink bracket was how they did not know who Lydia was and how she had this edit of being a mystery or a bit of an unknown threat. I thought that might happen again in this episode because a lot of the semi-finalists that weren't in her bracket wouldn't know who she was. But she wasn't mentioned at all. And I think it's because this edit that Ginger is now the big threat is being pushed over Lydia. And sure enough, that's how it went, because they really talked a lot about Ginger in this episode, about how she's a threat, she's the one to watch, she gives a masterclass in Snatch Game. So in place of Lydia's edit, they put Ginger's edit in instead. And this is something that I was concerned about going into All Stars 10 knowing the spoilers, was that it would become the Ginger show, and it basically has. And speaking of Ginger, she mentions that there's a big target on her back because she has won Snatch Game twice in the past. On the other end of the spectrum, Cynthia knows that she hasn't been successful in Snatch Game in the past, so she's trying her luck as Dracula. I honestly think the Count from Sesame Street would have been better for Cynthia, but we'll get there. So in the walkthrough with Rue, Bosco reveals that she is doing Kenny Carr, and Rue's like, I don't even remember your original Snatch Game. Ouch. Georges is doing Pitbull, Daya is doing Jane Lynch, Ginger is doing Reba McEntire, Lydia is impersonating Pete Burns, Aja is doing Cookie Tookie, Irene is doing Zsa Zsa Gabor, and Mistress is doing Natalie Nunn. So it's time for the Snatch Game, and it was not good. I barely laughed in this Snatch Game. In fact, I only laughed at two characters, Georges as Pitbull and Irene as Zsa Zsa Gabor. I don't have any photos of her, unfortunately. I laughed a lot at Mistress because her chin prosthetic was crazy. I think the rest, though, didn't really stand out to me. Like, Cynthia was hard to understand. Bosco did too many characters and didn't do them well. Yes, Ginger was fine, but this was not even close to being one of her best Snatch Game performances. In fact, if I'm being honest, it's my least favourite across the other three. I actually preferred her Tammy Faye Baker in All Stars 2. So as the queens prepare for the runway, Mistress is in her delusional era, thinking she did a lot better than she actually did. However, I have seen online that a lot of you do think that Mistress shouldn't have been in the bottom this week. I don't know if I agree. I think her character was too one note, but also I don't know the things that we didn't see. Maybe they cut out a lot from her performance. And maybe they did this to sort of bring in a I'm being humbled by Ginger edit. Let me know what you guys think. So on the main stage this evening, we have RuPaul looking gorgeous, we have Michelle Visage, Carson Kressley, and extra special guest judge Sarah Michelle Gellar. Categories tiramisu suit, and I gave my top two to Georges. She looked absolutely amazing in and out of her suit. This was a great week for Georges. It was time for the judges' critiques, and Bosco, Daya, and Irene are made safe, which means the rest represent the tops and bottoms of the week. First up, we have Georges. The masculine characters work really well for Georges. I'm glad that she listened because she used that character from All Stars 9 to her advantage in this performance. And you always get extra points when you listen to Rue. I loved everything about Georges this week. I think she killed it. I think she should have won. I'll get to that in a second. Next is Cynthia, and unfortunately, she didn't go too over the top with her Dracula, which is weird because Cynthia is cuckoo crazy. She knows how to dramatize things. Rue loved it because it was so ridiculous, but unfortunately, her reveal with her runway was messy and the garment was not well put together. I don't have a picture of Aja, so let's just use Raven here. Aja is told that she was too repetitive in her performance as Cookie Tookie, but I loved her runway, she looked incredible. Lydia looked absolutely amazing on the runway, she was almost my top toot, but Carson pointed out that her garment needed to be steamed. I have to say, Lydia could have been safe this week. I don't think she had to be in the bottom, I really don't. Her runway was amazing, and her performance was absolutely fine. The judges commend Ginger on her snatch game. And yes, she's funny, but what is with the story arc comment? Since when do we need a story arc in Snatch Game? Isn't the point just to make Rue laugh? Last but not least, we have Mistress in the bottom for a repetitive performance. I didn't find her funny, sorry, but I did find her chin prosthetic funny. I could not stop laughing every time I looked at her. Back on the main stage, Ginger Minj wins. Do I agree? No. I think it should have been Georges. It would have been a good storyline for Georges as well. And the reason I think it should have been Georges is because it seems to be very apparent that this week runways came into play. You know, Cynthia wasn't that bad. She did make Rue laugh, so she probably could have been safe, but her runway let her down. With Ginger's runway, they mentioned that they didn't really like the suit part. So if we are taking Cynthia's runway into account, shouldn't we take Ginger's into account as well? And we can't deny that Georges had a great runway and a great snatch game. So with that logic, Georges should have won. I also think Ginger winning again is just frustrating to the fandom. It continues to put a target on her back. It continues to shove down our throats that she's the best and everybody should be scared of her. And as much as I like Ginger, I do not like this narrative that is being pushed on us. So Aja and Lydia are saved, which means it's down to Mistress and Cuckoo to battle it out. They lip sync to a remix of Who's Zoom and Who by Aretha Franklin. This was a really strange choice of lip sync song. It was more spoken word, I would say. I guess it gave the queens opportunities to emote, but I wasn't a fan. Mistress clearly won that one though. And so we say goodbye to Cynthia Lee Fontaine, who is told that she still has a chance to re-enter the competition if she is picked from the wildcard lottery. I am sad about this, but I didn't expect Cynthia to get very far. And it does make me wonder, how would Denali have been in Snatch Game if she had advanced instead of Cuckoo? I don't think it would have mattered much because honestly, this was such a bad Snatch Game. In fact, Raven getting her crown was the best part. And I just really do not agree with any of these judging choices at all. It's a bit of a shame because these queens are meant to be superstars. I mean, they all passed their respective brackets and they've had so much time to prepare for the Snatch Game. So why was it so bad? But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Give me all of the tea. And just a quick PSA, I am going to be away for a week now on holiday, so there are going to be a few recaps that will be delayed. King of Drag will be delayed, so will the premiere of All Stars France and Brazil 2, and then the latest episode of All Stars 10. I'm so sorry. I will get them up as soon as possible, but Mama needs a break. As usual, give me all the tea, and I'll see you when I'm back.